All right, today we're going to talk about how to write equations in slope-intercept form that are parallel or perpendicular to another line, okay? So the main thing that we need to know is about the slope. Like if two lines are parallel, what do we know about their slope? If they're perpendicular, what would we know about their slope, okay? So we're going to start with parallel lines first. Can anyone tell me what you might know about the slope of two parallel lines?
They're equal.
Yeah, they're equal, right? Because if those two lines are parallel, that means they never cross, so their slope would have to stay exactly the same in order for them not to cross, okay? So we're going to say slopes are the same. What would be the only different thing about their equation then if they have the same slope?
Different points.
Well, what's the other thing we use to write an equation in slope-intercept form? The slope and the y-intercepts. So that means they have different y-intercepts. Okay, which really that doesn't matter. The thing we care about most is that the slopes are the same. Okay, because that's the information we need in order to write an equation. Okay, so let's write an equation for a line that passes through the point 3, -2 and is parallel to the equation y equals x plus 4. Now, this is going to be exactly the same as how we wrote them last week when they gave us an ordered pair and gave us the slope. The only difference is you have to find the slope, okay? Which should be really simple here because we know it's exactly the same. What's the slope from the equation that it is given you? You don't see it, but you know it's what? 1. The value in front of x is 1. You don't need anything else from that equation, okay? Now, can anyone tell me how to use this to write an equation in slope-intercept form? We did it last week.
Y equals mx plus.
Okay. What information can I plug in to y equals mx plus b?
Negative.
-2.
Equals 1 plus b.
What can I plug in for x? 3. Okay? Yeah, so it's just like last time, you guys. The only difference is you just have to look for the slope. And when it's parallel, it's super easy because you just take the exact slope it gives you. What's 1 times 3?
3.
So I get -2 is equal to 3 plus b. How do I get b by itself? Subtract 3. -2 minus 3 would give you -5. Now, do I have the two pieces of information I need to write an equation in slope-intercept form? Yes. Okay. Reno, what would that equation be?
Y equals x plus or minus 5.
Good. Could you put 1x minus 5?
Yes.
Yes. We don't need to because we understand that if we don't see it, we know it's 1. All right? Was anybody still writing that?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just holler at me. Good. Okay. All right, let's look at -2, 3 and an equation of y is equal to -3/4 x plus 4. Okay, so again, we're writing an equation that passes through the point and is parallel to y equals -3/4 x plus 1. Okay, first thing I need to do is just identify what slope will I be using. -3/4. Do I need anything else from that equation? No. I just need it for the slope. Okay? What form am I putting all of these in? Slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? What would I plug in for my y value? 3. Look at that ordered pair. What do I plug in for the slope? -3/4. And for x? And I'm going to put -2/1 since we're working with fractions. Okay? What can I simplify with -3/4 and -2/1? To get 1 and 2. Negative times a negative would give you a positive. Okay, so I'm going to get +3/2 plus b. All right, then what do I need to do? Subtract 3 halves. Now, what is 3 halves as a mixed number? So what would be 3 minus 1 and 1/2? 1 1/2, or just 3 halves, correct? Okay. Now, if you need to change that, you can, but we should know 3 minus 1 1/2 is still 1 1/2, which would just take you right back to what you started with, okay? Do I have the two things I need to write my equation in slope-intercept form? Yes. Grayson, what would be that equation?
Y equals 3 halves x plus negative 3 over 4.
Switch those.
Oh, negative 3 over 4 x.
There we go. Okay. We should feel okay with that because honestly, this part is nothing new, correct? Any questions on that part? Okay, let's talk about perpendicular. Okay, so perpendicular means they're going to form a 90-degree angle, so their slopes are good. Their slope will just be the negative reciprocal. Okay, so all that means we're going to do is when we see slope and it asks you to find an equation that's perpendicular, you're going to take the slope, flip the fraction, change the sign. Okay, so we're going to just practice a few of those just real quick before we even start. If they give you a slope of 3/4, somebody raise your hand and tell me what would be the negative reciprocal of 3/4.
-4/3.
Thank you, even though you didn't raise your hand. Okay, somebody else. What about the negative reciprocal of -9/10? Reno?
10/9.
Thank you. Change the sign, flip the fraction. What about the negative reciprocal of -5? Nathan?
5, wait no, 1 over 5.
1/5. And what about the negative reciprocal of 10? Tucker?
-1/10.
Good. Okay, so again, a simple thing for us to do, flip the fraction, change the sign. Yes? Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to y equals -2x plus 4. So, Reno, the first thing I want you to do is tell me what slope I would be using here.
1/2.
Good, positive 1/2. So you take the slope it gives you, flip the fraction, change the sign, then you're done with that equation, and you use the slope that's perpendicular, okay? What form am I always going to be writing these in? Slope-intercept form, okay? All right. Alyssa, can you tell me what I would plug in for my y value here?
-2,
Okay, what do I plug in for the slope?
1/2,
And for x?
-3.
I'm going to put -3/1. Okay, Reno. All right, 1/2 times -3/1 would give you what? -3/2. Okay, all I have to do to get this by itself would be to add 3/2 to both sides. Now, you might want to change this one to a fraction. What would -2 be as a fraction over 2? 4/2. Okay, that might help you when you add 3 halves. Okay, what is -4 halves plus 3 halves? Come on, honor students. -4 halves plus 3 halves will give you what? -1/2. Thank you. Okay. All right, Nick Jet, what would be my equation in slope-intercept form?
Y equals -1/2.
Well, what comes in front of x? M or b?
M.
Okay, so what's my equation?
Y equals 1/2 plus -1/2.
Or just -1/2. We really don't want to say plus a negative because that's redundant, okay? Listen, you guys, once you get to this point, there's a reason I circle these things because it's the two things you need to write your equation, correct? You don't have to do that, but I'm circling it for you just to lead you straight into your answer. Once you get M and you get B, you're done. You just plug in M first, plug in B at the end, okay? All right, let's look at -4, 5, and an equation of y equals 1/3 x plus 6. Okay, again, we're doing perpendicular. All right, so who can tell me what my slope would be that is perpendicular to 1/3? Nate?
-3.
Good. Change the sign, flip the fraction, slope of -3. Do I need to do anything else with this equation? No, you're done with it. Okay? Like always, I'm using y equals mx plus b. Marley, what would I plug in for y?
5.
M
-3.
and x.
-4.
Okay? What is -4 times -3? Positive 12. And then my last step, Marley, to get b by itself would be to do what?
-5.
Okay, what is 5 minus 12? Close.
-7.
There we go. Okay, so do I have the two things, Marley, I need to write my equation in slope-intercept form?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what it would be.
Y equals -3x -7.
Very good. Okay. All right. Do you feel okay with both of those? All right, last thing. Doesn't mean it's the last problem. There's two examples, but it's the last thing. Okay? All right. What this wants you to do is if it gives you two equations, it wants you to tell if the two lines that would be graphed would be parallel, perpendicular, or neither. What's the only thing that you would need to compare in order to know that? We just talked about it. Somebody over here said it. Slope. All you need to know is what is the slope of the two lines. Now, before you can just take the slope, what form do the equations need to be in? Slope-intercept form, okay? Can somebody change this one into slope-intercept form for me? Nathan?
Subtract 4x.
Good. So you would get y is equal to what?
-4x plus 3.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the first equation. What's the slope of my first equation? 4. What's the slope of my second equation? Okay. Can anyone compare those two slopes and tell me if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Neither. Why are they not perpendicular? They have different signs.
They're not opposite.
But they're not opposite. One would have to be -1/4, correct? Does everybody see that? Okay, so these two are neither. All right, let's look at one more, and I think you guys will be okay with this. 3x plus 5y is equal to 10, and 5x minus 3y is equal to -6. Piper, can you tell me on that first one, the one on the left, how I would change that to slope-intercept form? Okay. So if I subtract 3x from both sides, I would get 5y is equal to what? Okay, and then my last step would be to... can I find the slope yet? Is this in slope-intercept form? There we go. Divide every number by 5. Okay, so I would get y is equal to -3/5 x plus 2. Okay, I don't even care if you just circle your slope right here so you know. So my slope of this one is -3/5. All right. Quinn, can you tell me how to move the other one into slope-intercept form? Oh, sorry.
Subtract 5x
Good.
on both sides.
Okay, so that would give you negative 3y is equal to what? Which one would you put first, 5x or 6?
5x.
Good, very good. Okay. And then the only other thing you'd have to do to get y by itself would be to divide by negative 3. Okay? Very good. All right, so when you divide by negative 3, you would get y is equal to positive 5/3. Why is it positive? Because there's two negatives. Same thing at the end. Negative 6 and negative 3 would give you positive 2. Okay? So, Jordan, can you tell me when you're looking at those two slopes, negative 3/5 and positive 5/3, would that be parallel, perpendicular, or neither?
It's one of the two. Hold on. It's perpendicular.
Very good, because they're opposite reciprocal. Okay? How will you know if they're parallel? If they're exactly the same. Parallel is exactly the same. Perpendicular, different signs, flip the fraction. Neither would be like our first example. Okay? We feel okay with that? Any questions? All right. We're going to be on page 243.